Well, welcome everyone. Good evening. With me again, Abner Haya in IELTS Preparation Program tonight. With with me again, once again, in Fulbright, Indonesia. So tonight we are going to talk about some agendas. So because I really want to know about your speaking as well. So at the first, I just want to know about your weekend. One of the topic that always come up, not always, but sometimes come up into your speaking test. And the next one is about your listening, which is section one, a little bit review. Then we jump into section two for the multiple choice. Well, without any further ado, I want to greet you one by one at the first. Uh, I, are you guys okay tonight?
Yeah, sure.
Right, then. Great. Johari, we have Johari in here, Selfie, Imelda, Reza, and Haider. So we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we are 5. Right. So without any further ado, let's get straight into the first topic for tonight, our first agenda. We are going to talk about weekend. And actually, I'd like you to talk each other. So I'm going to break up the room. However, I'm going to tell you about the questions that sometimes come up into your speaking test, part one, particularly for the weekend. So anybody wants to be a volunteer for tonight?
For what?
For asking questions about the weekend.
Okay.
Right. Okay, Johari, you wanna be a volunteer for tonight?
To answer or I'll give some question,
To
Mr.
answer to
To
answer
answer.
what, yes, with some questions. I'm gonna ask you some questions, right?
Okay,
Great.
it's good.
Okay, so good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Abner.
Um, I'm gonna be asking you some questions about your weekend. What do you do at the weekends?
Thank you, Mr. Abner. So exactly, usually I visit my parent-in-law in other region in Madura, then with my family, with my wife, and with my daughter, and then we get some house all over there in my parents-in-law house, and then there are many activity over there. We play with our daughter, and very many things that we do in the weekend.
Okay, great. Uh, I'm gonna move on to, yeah, that's the sample answer from Johari. Thank you very much, Johari. I
Thank
just want
you.
to know a little bit about this one. Then I want to go to Selfie. Are you ready, Mariana?
Hello, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Uh, what about you? What do you sometimes do at the weekends?
Um, because I always go to the island where I go to teach. So where I go to teaching. So on the weekend, I usually spend my time alone in the home. If there's nothing I should do or I should do in the church, because sometimes I should take like a training or like uh it's latihan for
Okay,
in the church. So
okay,
that's
choir. So
what
you
I
join in the choir,
yes I'm joining the choir in my
right?
church.
Great. Thank you very much, and for your willingness to answer the questions. Next, I want to move on to Imelda. Right, Imelda. Thank you very much. Now you're getting better. Thanks God then. I'm happy
Okay,
for you.
thank you, thank you.
Right
Okay,
then. So I'm going to be asking you questions about your weekend. Uh, what do you sometimes do at the weekends,
thank you, Mr. Abner. Uh, This weekend I have a few activity related to my course in LPDP in UNS, and we have a prediction test. So my weekend is really, really hectic with
Okay.
yes, another lesson and something like that. And in the day after that, I prepare myself to going to church, and I use it for more relaxing time.
Okay. Great.
Going to shopping something for the next week, something like that.
Right then. Thank you very much for your willingness. Next, I want to move on to Reza. Reza. Hi, there you again. I'm happy to see that then. Right then, Reza. I'm going to be asking you questions about your weekend. So, what do you sometimes do at the weekends, Reza?
Okay, sir. Thank you. As I said before in the introduction section, I live in different city with my wife. So every weekend I went to visit my family, my wife and my children. So I went to another city in West Sulawesi, in Mamuju by bus on the Friday night. So I couldn't join your your class on the Friday night. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I see. I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah,
That's a
and
nice
on
trip then.
and on the Saturday I went to City Park in Mamuju. There are gazebo over there, so we can chill. I can chill with I could chill with my family over there, and there are many bird nest. I'm sorry, aku
Okay, that's okay.
kandang burung.
Okay, bird cages.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, bird cages. Yes,
bird
yes.
cages, right.
Yeah,
Okay,
there are
great.
many kind of bird over there. There were many birds over there. Yeah, we play on the park all along on the Friday, on the Saturday.
Right, thank you very much, Sam. Now I want to move on to Haider. Haider, are you there?
Okay, Mr.
Right, Haider. The same questions, I think. What do you sometimes do at the weekends, Haider?
My activity on weekend is just maintains my home, my house in Makassar. I just cleaning up my house and my garden because I have a garden. I have a tomato and chili plant. And
Oh, great.
I like gardening. So in my weekend, I just maintenance my garden and cleaning up my house.
Okay, great.
And more now, I have exercise in my exercise in gym, and every weekend I have go to go to exercise my body because I think it's most important part for our healthy life.
Right, thank you very much, Haider. And now I want to move on to Ross. Ross, are you there?
Yeah.
Thank you very much and welcome again.
Yes.
The same questions, Ross. What do you sometimes do at the weekends?
Okay, thank you, sir. My weekend is mostly it's a just for a chill day for me because I don't have much time to chill at the weekend because I will go to work on Saturday till afternoon.
Okay. Right.
So usually after the Saturday I go to a cafe or something like that.
Okay.
Have a cafe and I take my book with me. So I'm reading. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
But for Sunday, usually I do some chores like grocery shopping, cleaning, cooking,
Oh, good.
laundry, yeah, something like that. And also usually I check my parents how they are doing. Yeah,
Okay, great, great.
that's
Thank
my
you very much.
typical weekend. Thank you.
Right. Anytime, Rose. Thank you. And now the last one, if I'm not mistaken, Stephanus Arno. Are you there?
Yeah,
All right.
good night.
Okay. Good evening, Steph. What shall I call you, Steph? Right? Okay. Right then. Steph.
Arno.
Yeah. Okay, Steph. So can I call you Steph or Stephanus or Arno? Which one?
Arno.
Arno. Okay.
Arno, yeah.
All right then, Arno. Arno. What you sometimes do at the weekends, Arno?
The weekend, I'm with Reza. I work at West Sulawesi, Mamuju, and my family in Makassar.
Okay.
So every Friday, back to Makassar to be with my family, my wife, and my children.
Okay. Right.
And the Sunday, I go to church.
All right. Okay. Great then.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Stephanus. Yes, thank you very much, Arno.
Yes. Okay.
Right then. Okay. So I want to show you the questions that sometimes come up into the speaking part one. Right, and so at the first time, at the first thing, I like to say welcome to Layla. And tonight we are going to discuss about the weekend. So one of the topics that most commonly come up or appear in your test for speaking part one. I just want to tell you a little bit further about the speaking. So actually we have three parts. So part one, then part two, and then part three. So in part one, you are going to introduce yourself. Next, so you have to introduce yourself at the first. So you are going to introduce yourself. Let's say, for example, do you work or are you a student? So you need to answer the question. So you work or are you a student? let's say, for example, I'm currently working as a teacher in one of the institutions in Makassar, and I'm a teacher. So I'm currently working in one of the institutions, and I'm a teacher. So let's say, for example, like that one. As soon as after you introduce yourself, then there would be some topics. Let's say hometown or weekend. And we have already discussed about the hometown. And tonight, we're going to talk about the weekend. And some of the questions that I still remember when I got the test, it's always come up like this one. Let's say for the weekend. So the first question is going to be like this. I'm sorry. What you sometimes do at the weekend. Remember, at the weekend, if you heard someday about on the weekends, that's okay. So on the weekends is the American style. However, at the weekends, sometimes British use it. What do you sometimes do at the weekend? The next question is going to be, what about last weekend? What you did? Then comes to this one. Have you got any plans? Have you got any plans for the next weekend? And the last questions that I still remember, what about the people? What about the people? What about the people in your hometown? What about the people in your hometown sometimes do at the weekend? So it's very interesting because there are 4 questions here. I'm sorry. And actually, I want to break out the room so you can have a practice by using this kind of question. So again and again, what do you do? So what do you sometimes do at the weekends? What about last weekend? What you did? Have you any plans? Have you got any plans? Sorry. Have you got in here? Have you got any plans for the next weekend? What about the people in your hometown sometimes do at the weekends? Right. Can you copy the words? Can you copy the sentences? I mean the question sentence. So you can ask these questions to your partner later on, because I'm going to break up the room for about 5 minutes just to practice about this one, 5 or 10 minutes. Right. Does anybody want to ask questions at the first?
Mr. Abner, can I ask some a question?
Yes, go ahead.
For IELTS test, especially for speaking, is there any standard question maybe some pattern question, maybe in order to we can memorize the answer, maybe.
I'm so sorry. I don't recommend you to memorize the answer. Yes. The only things that I can propose you, that I can suggest you, I mean, is to to make a drill by using the pattern. So later I'm gonna convey you about the way I sometimes answer the question. So I'll let you know about this one. I'm gonna tell you about this one at the first. But at the first, I really want you to practice with your friend, and later on, we are going to discuss it. We are talking about these model answers as well. Okay? Anybody or anyone else?
Yeah, can I ask question?
Right. Go ahead.
Yes. If we face the question like that, like this one, which one do you prefer to do? We we tell the we tell like a routine, or like the routine before, like we do one thing, and then we do the second thing, and then we do third thing, or we pick one special moment and we elaborate it.
Okay. So Reza, that is another topic. So daily routine sometimes come up as well then. Daily routine sometimes come up as well. So if it talks about the weekend, you just go on with the questions. The examiner will ask you questions one by one, and will come in order, like that one. Okay. So if that is clear, I want to break up the room and remember about this question. What do you sometimes do at the weekends? What about last weekend? What you did? Have you got any plans for the next weekend? What about the people in your hometown? What they sometimes do at the weekends? So remember, what do you do at the weekends? What about last weekend? What about next weekend? And then what about the people in your hometown? What they sometimes do at the weekend, right? Okay, so now I want to break out the room. So we are 8 in here. So I'm going to prepare 4 rooms for you. Oh, we have 7. Sorry. Right, here we go. Okay, so Haider and Ross, you might probably have a conversations together. You might take in turns as well about the weekend. And still remember about the questions. What do you do at the weekends? What about last weekend? And what about next weekend? What have you got any plans for the next weekend? Then what about the people in the place where you live? What they sometimes do, right? So I'm gonna be move on to the next room. Okay, Haider and Rose, you might have a conversation together. Come on. Okay. Excuse me. Are you in? Okay. Great. Okay, welcome back to our room then. What about your conversations with your partner?
Very good, Mr.
Mhm.
Me and Reza speak together about our topic.
Okay. Right. Later on, I'm gonna give you a little bit test, right? And anyone else? What about you, Selfie? To whom did you talk to?
With Laili.
Okay.
So I just know that she has restaurant Padang. She can cook rendang.
Oh, come on. We talk about the weekend, not about the restaurants.
That's the other point. The weekend that she has, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so holiday. We go
Okay.
to cinemas, to shopping, and she has that.
It means that you share the same interest, right? You share the same interests. And Haidir?
I have talked with Ross
Okay.
about our weekend activity.
Yeah. And then what did you think?
I think Ross is a typical person in just want to chill and relax on weekend.
Okay. Great. Thank you. And the last one, Imelda.
I have room with Mr. Arno, and we have the same things about we live separately from our family. So we have planning for go back to our hometown for Idul Fitri holiday.
Okay.
Next 2 weeks.
Okay. Okay. So you guys to talk based on the reality, right?
Yes.
Okay. Very honest. Very good. Nice. Based on the reality. So I want to tell you something about the speaking for IELTS. Is that okay? I take your time again?
No problem, sir.
Okay. Okay. Right, here we go. I'm going to tell you something about this one. Right, then let's have a look at the first one. This is the weekend. This is my model answers. If you really want to, you may probably come up with my questions. Or if anybody wants to ask me questions at the first, and okay, does anybody want to ask me questions? I'm gonna show you the model answers that I sometimes make, right? Anybody wants to? Ross, probably.
Sure.
Do you still remember
Okay.
about the questions? Okay, ask me questions and I'll try to give you a model answer.
Okay, the next 2 weekends will be the long weekends. So did you have any other plans for your long weekend?
Great. So, okay, Ross, it talks about the plans, right? So it is based on the real conversation. So you asked me based on the real conversations, right? But I want you to focus on the questions in IELTS. So what do you do at the weekends? Ask me questions, Ross. And then I will try to make my model answers.
Oh, okay. Can I ask the same question?
Yep.
What is your plan for the next weekend?
Right, for the next weekend, I'm not really sure. I'm not pretty sure about the next weekend. I don't know if it's going to be different with any other weekends, but most likely I'm going to be doing the same stuff that I do this week. Okay.
Okay. Just one question, or
ask me questions that I told you.
okay. What do you sometimes do on the weekend?
Right. At the weekends, I'm a teacher, and as a teacher, I'm completely swamped during the weekdays, let's say from Monday to Friday. And at the weekends, if I've got a whale of time, I sometimes hang out with my friends, catch up with them, and grab a coffee together. On top of that, if I've got an assignment from the school, I sometimes, spend the whole weekends for working on my deadlines. Thank you.
Okay. And what about last weekend? What you did?
Wow, it's good questions. Thank you very much, Sam. At the last weekend, I think it was just a typical weekend, like any other weekends. And but I remember that I start my day by, finishing some tasks on my to-do list. Then, because I live quite near by the sea, so in the afternoon I pop out for a stroll on the sand pits while waiting for the sunset. Thank you.
Okay, it's interesting. So, since you live not far from the beach, what about the people in your hometown sometimes do at the weekend?
Yes, it's killer. Nice. I think the people in my hometown, like in Makassar, they are really big on spending time at cafes, malls, or even restaurants. On top of that, they sometimes go to the beach as well. They try to do that because they've got the reasons that they need to, to have a good work-life balance for their life. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So that is the sample answers, Rose, that I can give it to you. I'm going to write it down on the board. Do you have a question, Ross?
Yeah, I have a question about the last question. Sometimes I'm avoid to say beach because sometimes it could be a
Negative.
yeah negative.
I see. So it's going to be based on the context, right? So don't worry about that one, because they have the same sound, a different meaning, which we call homonyms. But the negative one, bits. So the place, beach. Okay, so a little bit, actually, from the way we pronounce it is almost quite similar, but again and again, when we talk about the place, automatically it is the context of the place where people sometimes wait for the sunset.
Yeah, I'm just worried that maybe people around me don't understand my words.
Okay.
What is it? Yeah.
If you want to differentiate it, that one, Ross, the negative one, they emphasize, they put the stress on letter T.
Okay.
Yes. However, for the place, they put the stress on CH, beach, on the beach. Okay, on the beach. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Anytime. All right, then. So, without any further ado, I'm going to give you some tips. This one for the weekends. This one. So, because as a teacher, I'm completely swamped. I'm completely swamped. If I've got a whale of time, if I've got a whale of time, you know, this is idiomatic expressions. It's very good. Instead, if I've got plenty of time, it doesn't mean that if I've got the fish, you know, fish, whale, right? So this is idiomatic expressions. If I've got a whale of time, I sometimes hang out. This is nice phrasal verbs. Hang out with friends, with my friends. Catch up with them. And grab a coffee together. Grab a coffee together. So, hang on a minute. Grab a coffee together. So my friends, I change it to them. Them, I change it to together. By doing that way, I'll try to show to examiner that my vocabulary is quite flexible. So the flexibility, I change my friends with them. I change them with together. On top of that, I use, you know, natural words. Hang out, catch up, and grab coffee together. Instead of walk around the city with my friends, uh, discuss with my friend, and drink coffee. So instead of saying like that, you might probably use hang out, catch up, and grab a coffee together. It's very fantastic, nice at the weekends. At the last weekend, remember, this is past tense. At the last weekend. So I suggest you to remember and try to make a drill with these phrases or even with the sentences that I want to show you. Okay. So the key phrases in here, it was just a typical weekend, like any other weekend. This one, only suggestions. So, well, I think it was just a typical weekend, like any other weekend. And then the next things or the next sentence, you can expand it. You can, improve it, improvise it by your own experience. Just add some words in here. So, sorry, some fancy phrases that I want to show you. This one on my to-do list. Sorry. As well as that, I want to show you this one as a profile to restore. Okay. After last weekend, then this is the next weekend. Oh, sorry. This is next weekend. It talks about the future. It talks about the past. While at the weekend, it talks about the present. In this way, examiner really wants to know how well you play with the tenses. Right? In this way, by asking you some questions related to tenses, examiner really wants to know how well you use the tenses. Right then. At the next weekend, I'm not pretty sure. And I don't know if it's, sorry, I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's any, if it is different with any other weekends, but most likely, it's very nice phrase in here, but most likely, I'm gonna be doing the same stuff. Okay, that I do this week. So you might probably improvise as well, but most likely I'm gonna be doing the same stuff that I do this week. On top of that, I got a plan to, so you can improve in here. You can make it improvisation. Okay. What about the people? What about the people in your hometown or in the place where you live? What they sometimes do? I just want to put on this one. They're really big on me here means that. Oh, sorry. I don't need to put they they're they're big on. So big on means that really like. So they're big on spending. They're big on spending time at cafes, malls, or even restaurants. I'm sorry, even restaurants. On top of that, or just because, or just because they really want to have, they really want to have, they want to have, they want to have a good work-life balance. Wow, it's very fantastic. Very fantastic. So they are big on spending time at the cafes, malls, or even restaurants. On top of that, they do that just because they really want to have a good work-life balance. They really want to have a good work-life balance because after a long weekend, I mean, no, a long weekday starting from Monday to Friday, they're so completely swamped, or even they are snowed under. So they really want to have a good work-life balance at the weekends. They want to balance their life with the working times, working hours, and then they want to balance their life with the family, or even gathering, or even, hang out together with their friends, right? So make a chit chat. So chit chat means a conversation. Any questions?
I have a question, sir.
Right, go on.
Can I use swamp for a positive thing or negative thing?
What is it? Swamped.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to show you that swamped. I'm completely swamped here. So swamped means that's busy. From the word swam, I'm completely swamped, or I'm snowed under. I'm snowed under. Can I use it in the negative? So if you use it in the negative, I'm not completely swamped, means that you are so free, like that. Cross.
Swam is the same word. I mean, is the synonym of swim. Is it overwhelmed or is it different?
Over the wall,
Overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed.
Mhm.
Yes. The synonyms is for the busy things is overwhelmed. So sometimes people say I'm so exhausting. I'm so exhausted, tiring, fully piled of work. Overwhelmed is too it's too formal for me. It sounds too formal for me. However, if you use completely swamped, the native speakers directly recognize the words because these phrases are usually used by the native speaker. I'm completely swamped. Even in Australia, they sometimes said, I'm so sorry, I feel cactus. I'm a cactus right now, so please don't call me, don't bother me with your ringtone or whatever. Don't knock even the door because I'm going to take a rest. I'm going to take a rest. I'm completely swamped with all day working, with all day works, right? Sometimes they say like that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rose. Anybody? Anyone else?
Yes, sir. I want to ask about, do you think the examiner know if we just make some story, and do you think if we are lying when we are speaking test, do you think the score test will be do you think the make effect with our scores test?
Okay, it's a good question. At the first, actually, I'm so sorry. At the first sighted, I'm not teaching you how to be a good liar. Not teaching you how to be a good liar, right? So, make a story that's okay. Make a story that's okay. That is called speculative answer. So sometimes I am speculative. Sometimes I am based on the reality. So if it is very hard for me to say something's true about, then I try to be more speculative. Okay. And how I think the examiners will not detect it as long as don't memorize the answer. So how you come out with this one, how you work it out, you have keep practicing, keep drilling the words, keep drilling the phrases. So let's say, for example, what about the weekend? At the weekends, what do you sometimes do? I sometimes hang out with my friends, catch up with them, and grab a coffee together. So I got these phrases. I tried to say that every day. I spend around 5 minutes to practice about this one. Okay, if the questions is coming up about the weekend, so well, I'm a worker. Well, I'm a student. I'm a student in the last semester in my campus, and if I've got a free time at the weekend, I sometimes hang out with my friends, catch up with them, and grab a coffee together. So I don't want to put a list detail, every single detail that I have to put. I try to give a general overview about the activities that I do on the weekends. I don't want to be sounded boring, in front of the examiner. So the first thing that I have to do is to impress the examiner with the words that I use, with the dictions that I use. And it happens in a general situation. People at the weekend sometimes hang out, right? And sometimes catch up with their friends or catch up with their families, right? And then the last one, sometimes they grab a coffee together. Or if you don't grab a coffee, in order to, to be sounded like, it's very nice English, then I choose grab a coffee. Instead, if you are drinking tea, if you're drinking chocolate or orange juice only, I sometimes grab some juice together with my friends. Okay, so you may improve it. Like that one, Haider. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Right. So the most effective way to improve your speaking at the first is to know about this one. If I'm not mistaken, Imelda asked me questions about the patterns. So I saw you this one. Remember about the present. I use all the present tense in here, and the past. I use was in here, right? And then in the future, I'll try to use if it's gonna be different. I don't know if it's gonna be different. I don't know if it's gonna be different with any other weekends, but most likely I'm gonna be doing. So present, past, future. Uh, I'll try to survive in front of the examiner. So the most effective way to, you know, to enhance or to boost your English speaking, there is no other way. You have to keep drilling 5 to 10 minutes a day. Okay, so one topic, let's say, for example, weekends, the vocabulary related to weekends, such as hang out, catch up, grab coffee. And then last weekend was a typical weekend. It was just a typical weekend. There's nothing to write home about. There's nothing special. It was just a typical weekend. Remember about this idiomatic? There was nothing to write home about. There's nothing to write home about means that there is no special. You might probably say, well, I think there was no special at the weekend. There was no special at the last weekend that I had. You can probably say like that. But in this way, I try to make it becomes a little bit fluency. So it sounds fluency. I think it was just a typical weekend like any other weekend. Keep drilling the words slowly, then fluency. So I'm gonna show you. Well, I think it was just a typical weekend like any other weekend. And then as soon as after you got the form, you try to practice it fluently. I think it was just a typical weekend like any other weekend. And then you practice sounds naturally. Well, I think it was just a typical weekend like any other weekend. So make it like these words or these sentences, this sentence is a part of your language. How to make it? You have to drill it out. You have to drill it out every day. After that one, you change with other topics about, let's say, hometown. Let's say daily routines. And some other topics will come up later on. Okay?
Sir.
Right. So, if you have no questions, or I still give you one more participant who wants to ask me questions about the speaking. Nobody?
I want to ask one more time, sir.
Okay, this is the last but not the least, right? If you still have any, that's okay. But I want to limit the time because I've already taken your time too much tonight. I'm so sorry.
I want to ask, when we have to speak on a long conversation, and when we have to speak on short answer and long answer.
Oh, okay. It's great. In speaking part one, as I jot down, so when you heard jot down, so jot down means that right. Don't be confused with this one. So previously, when I jot down part one, part two, and part three, you still remember about the part one, right? Talking about introduction and some hidden topics that probably examiners will ask you about. In part one, I really want you to, to give not very short answer, not very long answers as well. So from my point of view, I really want you to make around 2 to 3 sentences, and I think it's enough. So later on in part three, you need to give long answers. I'm going to show you someday when we come into part three. However, I'll tell you the in a brief overview about speaking part three. You have to give a long answers that consist of answer, explain. If you come up with examples, it's very nice, and then you try to extend it again. However, in speaking part one, you just have 2 or 3 sentences, and I think that's enough. Don't spend too much time in speaking part one. Don't show off over there. So the time when you are going to show off in part two and part three, because in part two, you're going to be given a topic card, and in part three, you are going to, to open, to broaden, to speak up in order to, to based on the knowledge that you've got. Let's say, for example, for speaking part three, what do you think about the tourism that doesn't damage the environment? The first thing that you have to do is, well, from my point of view, the tourism sector really brings the pros and cons. The pros one is going to be this one, the cons is going to be this one. For example, so you're going to have a long answers in speaking part three. However, again and again, don't do that in speaking part one. Don't overthink the answer. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Right. Thank you. So, no one more? Okay. So if there's no one, yeah.
I want to ask you about we have a limitation of time when we create our speaking, or we free for speak with our material.
Okay. Very good question. So part one, that consists of introduction. And then let's say, for example, the topic is hometown. And then some questions about weekends. In this case, Imelda, I want you to spend around 2 to 3 sentences, because it's going to last around 3 to 5 minutes in this part. Then 2 to 3 sentences are enough for each question. Don't give very short answers and don't give very long answers as well. In part 2, you are going to be given a topic card. And then you are going to describe something in here. Your time is 1 minute taking notes, and then 2 minutes to speak up. Okay, so you're going to have 2 minutes to speak up. So totally in here, you're going to have around 3 minutes. However, in part 3, that is long discussion. And it consists around 5 to 7 numbers. And it takes around 5 to, it takes around 5 to 7 minutes long. Okay, Imelda? Okay, Imelda?
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Right, so if you have no questions, I think we are going to continue tomorrow. Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Okay.
I'm so sorry to take your time then.
No problem, sir.
So it's almost late at night then, so I'm so sorry for that then.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
You
you
know,
for your time, sir.
Yeah, talking with
Thank you, sir.
it's very nice then. So bye for now then. See you tomorrow.